stellar opportunities in leadership training, capacity building, and social development. Under our community development initiative, projects like Feed a Neighbor, Feed a Nation have reached over 2,000 families facing food insecurity across 6 states. Our recently commissioned Hope Alive Fund is designed to empower and support entrepreneurship in underserved communities. In collaboration with civil society partners, we are building a coalition for participatory governance that works at the grassroots level to strengthen good governance and effective administration at the local government. We invite you to join us on this journey as we lay the bricks one at a time in building a resilient and formidable Africa. Please join us every Thursday at 5 p.m. West African time, live on Zoom. The meeting link is the same: simple, consistent, and open to all. Also, stay connected and inspired all week long and follow us on all our social media as posted here. Mark your calendars, invite a friend, and let's grow together. The Nigeria Leadership Series Town Hall, Building Leaders, Celebrating Unity, and Shaping Africa's Future. See you again next Thursday at 5 p.m. right here on Zoom.
Blessings and warm greetings, and welcome to today's edition of the Nigerian Leadership Series of the African Leadership Group. My name is Itwa Igodalo, and I'm happy to be here today. And I dare say a very, very warm, gracious, and happy New Year to all of us. We thank God that we're able to see through the year 2025, and we're here at the year 2026, starting off again this year, speaking truth to leadership and looking for how we can make Africa a much better place. And that's why we go by the name and appellation, the African Leadership Group. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I want to thank all the backroom people for being there for us. I want to thank all the hard work that we're doing, and also to welcome Mr. Albert Name, who is resuming this year as our director, our executive director, who is going to be doing a lot of the executive roles now, and our second full-time staff, joining Faye, who has been part-time, full-time, part-time, full-time. Now we have Mr. Albert Name joining us as our executive director. We really, really thank Albert for taking on this role, and we do hope and wish him a very, very successful tenure. We will be reporting to our Chief Operating Officer, Ms. Jumoke, and also Pastor Sonny Enebi. So we thank God for that new start. Regrettably, we need to announce that we lost one of our people, one of our resource people, one of the people who have been there for the African Leadership Group, a gentleman by the name Mr. Temi Tokwe Ajayi. Mr. Temi Tokwe Ajayi. I would like us to please, wherever we are, rise in our hearts and rise in our minds and rise physically if we can for a minute in silence for Temi Tokwe Ajayi. Amen. May his kind and gentle soul continue to find solace in the presence of the Almighty. And may God give outstanding love, kindness, and comfort to his family. I'd like us to go quickly to a quick video to set the tone for this evening. Thank you. Is it possible to have the video play? Okay, while we're waiting for the video so that we don't waste any time.
For success, free of charge. If Singapore has gone from being a third world country to a first world country, I'm going to share with you the secret of Singapore's success free of charge. If you implement this secret formula, your country will succeed. And I capture the secret formula with the acronym in English, MPH. The M stands for meritocracy. Meritocracy means that you select the best people to run the country. And what brings many countries down, especially in the third world, is that when it comes to selecting the finance minister or the economics minister, they will give their jobs to their brothers, their cousins, their uncles, their relatives, and not to the best people. The second pillar is P, and P stands for pragmatism. But the best definition of pragmatism was given by China's leader, Mr. Deng Xiaoping. It doesn't matter whether a cat is black or a cat is white. If the cat catches mice, is a good cat. So in the same way, it doesn't matter what your ideology is. If it works, you use it. You're not bound by any ideology. But the third pillar, the H, is of course the hardest to achieve, because H stands for honesty. And indeed, what has brought most third world countries down has been corruption. And so Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, after he became Prime Minister, made it a point to punish not the junior people, but the very senior people. And that's the formula for Singapore's success.
Thank you so much. Thank you for those nuggets from Singapore. Since the most difficult one is honesty, and honestly, I cannot agree more because of the spate and the rate of corruption that has plagued our country, Nigeria, and a lot of African nations. I have a theory that I think that corruption was deliberately planted in and embedded in our system and in our culture by our colonial masters. The same way they inspired the spirit of coups, and the same way they ensured that the right people did not quite get into governance. Our speaker today is the Chancellor of the Athena Center for Policy and Leadership. He's a distinguished public servant, a reformer, and thought leader whose career exemplifies excellence in public sector transformation. As Corps Marshal and Chief Executive of the Federal Road Safety Corps, he led far-reaching reforms that earned the organization international recognition. The World Bank identified the FRSC at its time as the best example of a road safety lead agency in Africa and the developing world, a distinction that led to a $10 million World Bank investment to improve Nigeria's road safety. He was also Minister of Aviation very, very briefly, but it was impactful, and he witnessed the United States FAA Category 1 recertification of Nigeria's aviation industry. Beyond public office, he continues to shape national discourse through the Athena Center for Policy and Leadership, a think tank devoted to evidence-based policymaking and international strengthening across Africa. Please welcome with me Mr. Osita Chidoka, OFR. My brother, you are most welcome, and thank you for being part of our series today, and thank you for taking the time to be here. Happy New Year to you, and I must thank Happy New Year, my brother, and I must thank Madame for her role in making this happen. Please give her a warm hug for me and tell her that we love and appreciate her very much. Osita, how are things in our beloved Nigeria? What do you think things are, and how are things?
Thank you very much. My internet connection is unstable, but I hope you are hearing me very well. Please confirm I'm clear, that you're hearing me well.
We can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. I'm grateful to the African Leadership Group for convening this conversation, and to my brother, Pastor Itua Igodalo, for hosting it with the seriousness our country deserves. And this is my second time on this series, and I'm proud and happy how you have sustained this, and you have become a public intellectual in the space of bringing this together and letting us take a look at our country, where we are and where we're headed to. So let me begin with a very simple observation. Nigeria has quietly erased a year from its national calendar. There is a year that is missing in Nigeria. And I don't know if I ask people to guess whether they will guess what that year is. But my answer is that that year is 2026. 2026 is missing because everywhere you turn, every conversation, even our governance instincts are already obsessed with 2027. So there is no conversation about 2026. Nobody is asking, where is the 2026 budget? Nobody is asking, where is the medium-term framework and what are we supposed to achieve in 26? Everybody that meets me, the first thing they ask you is, this election, this 2027, how is it going to be? I say, what has happened to all of us? Where is 2026? And Alignments are forming, calculations are underway, coalitions are being tested, promises are being rehearsed, everybody is making promises. But 2026 is not a waiting room. It is a real year, and for most Nigerians, it will be a year of consequence for them. Consequence because in 2026, children will sit for WAEC, they will sit for JAMB, they will sit for BESE. People will graduate from our universities, they will sit for their final exams, and people will still fall ill and go to hospitals. The road crashes will occur. Farmers will still plant or abandon fields, depending on the security situation in Nigeria. Insecurity will continue to deepen or abate, as the case may be. Some of us will not survive the 2026. We will not even get to 27 that people are worried about. As at January to date, I'm sure you have heard people like the one we talked about now who have died. So many people will die in 2026. Markets will still rise and fall. Families will still make life-defining decisions. People will get married. They will choose their partner, which is a life-defining decision. So we're still going to attend weddings and we're still going to attend funerals in 2026. Life does not pause because politicians are preparing for elections. Real things happen. So I'm at a loss why the masses join the politicians in discussing the next year when they are living in a real situation this year. Kidnapped in Kaduna, a lot more people churches will fight, Muslims will be killed, Christians will be killed, terrorists will be on rampage. So we will not even get to 27 if 26 does not work. So, and that is the central danger before us. It's a very major danger before us. When a nation governs for elections, for an election year, while neglecting the years in between, citizens pay the price. So it's the citizens that pay the price when a nation just focuses on the election years. So the missing year problem is real. And what countries fail, most countries fail, not because they lack vision, but because they mismanage time. Time is an essential aspect of any nation. Nigeria today is governing as though only 2 years matter. The last election and the next one. So what happens in between is always tales by moonlight. Stories are told, the people who are right and those who are wrong. When the government does something wrong, those of us supporting the government will rush to the barricades and defend it. And those of us who oppose to the government, when it does something right, we will still say it is wrong because we are concerned about elections. Which is why fundamentally I want to throw one of my major theses up front here. I think Nigeria should do away with the 2-term presidency executive rule. We should do away with it because we are a developing state. We are in need of government that does not take decisions for elections while ignoring the long-term implications for the people. I think we should do what Mexico has done. We should do what many other countries are doing, adopting the single term and allowing us to go for 1 term so that every year is consequential in the life of a government. Every year is important, not the elections in between. And Nigeria, so because that will be important for development. So development happens in the years that attract no slogans. And 2026 is the year of party primaries, campaigns, political bargaining, and therefore, historically, the year when governance thins out. So this is the year we are going to be least governed because everybody is going to focus on what the future, the election coming up. So decisions are delayed, reforms are softened. So the government is doing some reforms, but we may see that as we proceed to the year, they may begin to soften the reforms so that people will vote. Accountability is postponed in an election year. So somebody said to me, the tax law is going to annoy Nigerians and they will vote against the sitting government. I said, are you for real? The tax law is not going to happen until next year. The first time we will file taxes under the new NRS is in 2027. So whatever effects the tax will have on us, we won't feel it until 27 or even 28, depending on how the government enforces it. But for 26, nobody's going to feel the pain of the new tax law, because some of these things are calibrated so that the impact does not come immediately and people can focus on elections. So yet, systems do not respect political calendars. Hospitals do not operate on schedules. Security threats do not wait for manifestos. And learning outcomes do not improve because rallies are attended. So the tragedy is not that politicians are preparing for election. That is normal in most societies. The tragedy is that the state appears to be preparing only for elections. That's the real tragedy. The state is preparing only for elections. It is not preparing for governance. So let me put it this way. Nigeria's problem is not the shortage of ideas. We are drowning in plans, committees, and white papers. Since the time I was in government, we've had all kinds of decisions. We go to Federal Executive Council every Wednesday. We take decisions. Decisions are taken. Nobody is tracking the impact of that decision. Nobody is checking the outcomes of those decisions. The National Assembly is passing laws every day. Every day new laws are passed, new institutions are created, and we have not checked impact. So Nigeria's problem is a problem of execution under distraction. It's execution under distraction. Three realities define our present moment, and I have three realities that I think. First, our systems are weak, but our expectations are loud. We as Nigerians have great expectations. We demand Scandinavian outcomes from fragile institutions. So we want what we see in Sweden and Denmark, but we don't have the institutions to deliver that. And why do we not have the institutions? We don't have the institutions because we all rig the institutions. So there are the recruitment process to these institutions are opaque. We all beg for our brothers to be recruited and our sisters to be recruited. And then we expect them to give the best outcomes. So the number one thing is that our systems are weak, made by all. It's not by this government or the last government. All of us who are begging, Osita, help me put my brother in road safety. Osita, help me put my sister in aviation, in NAMA. So if aviation is not regulating well, it's because the people there are not the best hands. These are people that have come in by political influence. And we're expecting them, these fragile institutions, to deliver world-class outcomes. It will not happen. The second one is our politics is emotional, but our challenges are technical. So we can discuss whether it is the turn of the Igbos to rule Nigeria, whether the Yorubas are doing well, and whether they have taken over the commanding heights of the government, whether all the appointments of the president are in line with our constitution or not. But the problem is that inflation, insecurity, learning poverty, and health outcomes do not respond to rhetorics. There is no amount of rhetorics that will cover for the technical challenges we have. So I tell people our problems are technical, but our politics is rhetorical. And the third one is that trust has eroded between citizens and government, and between data and decisions, between promises and delivery. So we have a trust that has broken down. Now, let me give you an example of the gap between data and decisions. Last year, the Federal Road Safety Corps, which I happen to have managed, so I can talk about it as an organization, published in their data that 5,924 people died from road crashes. And what that means is that it means a plane carrying 200 people crashing every 2 weeks for 5,000 people to die. But these are the people that died on our roads. And then these 5,000 people that died, about 33,000 people were injured in the crash, according to the FRSC. But then they told us, these deaths, we know where they are occurring. Where are they occurring? Abuja, Kaduna Expressway. The top fatality state is Kaduna. Lagos, Ibadan, Ogbomosho, all the way going to Jeba, Bida, Mokwa, Jeba, Bida, Mokwa, and Jeba is bad. They told us that 70% of these crashes were caused by 70% were caused by commercial vehicles. Of these commercial vehicles, we know that trucks, and of these trucks, the 18 road crashes involving trucks were by Dangote trucks alone. Of course, they are the highest number of trucks on the road. And they told us that 65% of these crashes were caused by speeding violation. So we know where the accidents are occurring. We know who caused it, commercial vehicles. We know what is causing it, overspeeding. Now, we come to 2025. This is 2024 data. In 2025, the budget of FRSC had about 2-point-something billion for capital votes. Of this 2-point-something billion, 88%, or about 80%, was for purchase of houses for deputy commercials. It was for repair of offices, starting of new commands. None of the budgeting reflected the data of the roads where the crashes are occurring. There was no buying of speed limiting equipment on the road where the crashes are occurring, on Kaduna-Kanu Road. There was no buying of, we call it, buying of patrol vehicles, opening new commands, buying alcoholizers so that you can test the drivers for alcohol on the road. Nothing in the budget reflected the data. Instead, we focused on institution strengthening, making the institution happy, but the outcome of the institution, nothing was talked about it. So that was the budget in 2025. Now, that budget, as of September, had not been released. So FRSC publishes another data. 3,300 and something people had died from road crashes from January to September, an 11% increase over 2025 accidents for the same period, January to September. The same FRSC told us speed is still the highest cause of the crashes. About 67% is still related to speed. Commercial vehicles are still 75% of these crashes. And the people that died from these crashes are 74% young men in their prime, people between the ages of 20 and 45. So nothing has changed between 2024. The number of crashes had increased by 10%. The number of deaths have increased by 11% over the data we had. And nothing in the budget reflected any effort that if we control crashes in these 5 top locations, we will have reduced the deaths by 50%, only in 5 locations. The same thing occurred with Nigerian police. They published their data. Violence is Zamfara. The violence in Zamfara, the insecurity in Zamfara, the insecurity in Kaduna, the insecurity in Katsina. They also pointed out where the criminals are operating in some of the Southeast. Now, what did they do in 2025 budget? None of the budget items in 2025 reflected where the crimes are being committed. There were no equipments in tracking these people. We know we have a forest problem. All our forests are now being used by gangsters and bandits and terrorists. Nothing in the police budget talked about how to dislodge them in the forest. So again, it was about barracks. The budget was about building barracks. And then the fuel allocation given to the police translated to 8 liters of fuel per day for the 14,000 police stations in Nigeria. So meaning that the police cannot even move. If you want them to come to any scene of crime, you have to give them money. So I'm using this to show you that there is a great dissonance between what our data says and what our budget or government does. So 2026 is an important inflection year. It is a year that we ought to have looked at what has happened over the past 3 years and propose what we should do to make life better for Nigerians so that they can live to vote in 2027. Rather, we have moved on to 27 without caring what is happening in the missing year. So in moments like this, leadership must be redefined. Leadership is not the ability to win an election, it is the ability to govern when applause is absent. Nigeria needs three kinds of leadership now. The leadership of restraint, knowing what not to promise. We need resisting the temptation to mortgage the future for present convenience. Leadership of systems, building mechanisms that function regardless of who occupies office. Measuring, monitoring, and improvement. That is my unique theory about governance infrastructure. I developed it when I was in FRSC. Measuring, monitoring, and improving. I call it M²I. And this is quietly and consistently, we must measure and we must go between what is the problem and what we have the resources for. We need the leadership of consequence, explaining trade-offs honestly, and treating citizens as adults, not as crowds to be managed. I wrote a short story last week about, I went to buy drugs. I went to buy magnesium. I bought 2 multivitamins, and it was at 130,000. And when I looked at the price, I just said, why is this so costly? It's about $88 for the 3 items I bought. I checked online. In China, it was $22 for the same item. In the US, it was about $25. In the UK, it was about $70 because UK is a high tax environment. So Nigeria was the highest price. In Egypt, it was about $30-something. I looked at the prices online in various countries, and Nigeria had the highest price. So what is the problem? The problem is our foreign exchange decision has impacted medicine. We produce none in Nigeria. We do not produce it in Nigeria. And how do we now make sure that we solve the problem of rising costs of over-the-counter medicine? Nobody is thinking about that. We're thinking of the next election. We're thinking of promises. We're thinking of whether it is Fulani or it is Igbo. We're thinking, but when we're going to buy these drugs, it didn't check my ethnicity. It didn't check where I came from. It only checked that if you were a Nigerian minimum wage worker, it will require 2 months of salary to buy this, what I call over-the-counter medications. If you are a minimum wage worker in South Africa, it will take about 30% of your salary. If you're a minimum wage worker in the US, it will take only 2% of your salary. So the Nigerian minimum wage worker is the person that cannot afford this medication. We're not asking those questions. So I think that the priorities for 2026 is that we need to reaffirm, and I like this convention is happening in January. 2026 is a real year, and it demands real priorities. Not everything can be fixed at once. Serious countries choose. First, security as a system challenge, not a slogan. We need to face security in 2026. It's not just about firepower, it's about intelligence, coordination, civilian protection. Second is economic. We need economic depth, not optics. We should stop talking optics. Nigeria cannot grow on consumption alone. Nations that endure build domestic savings, patient capital, and productive investment. So without this, even good leadership runs into very hard limits. Third is we need human capital with accountability. So education and health spending must be tied to outcomes, not allocations. Digital tools should track delivery, not decorate speeches. A country that does not protect its human capital is quietly already mortgaging its future. So I think that these are not election promises, these are elite consensus. So that even if another party comes to power, we need to know that security, we have a system challenge. I have proposed what we need to do about our forest and rural problem. We need a specialized force for it. And we need to align our budget to where our problems are. And that is important. So, but beyond all of this, we also need to talk about faith, values, and the limits of just morality alone. Because this is a church, I believe that in a forum hosted by faith leaders, this must be said carefully. But I want to say it honestly. Values matter, faith matters, prayer matters, but morality without systems is what produces frustrations. When people just have to depend on their moral compass to take decisions, then we're bound to run into frustrations because we have people who have no morals. So we need, Nigeria's challenge is not a lack of belief. Faith should shape our ethics, but institutions should shape our outcomes. So I believe that prayer gives direction, but systems give durability. We need to build systems to have durable outcome. And a serious nation builds both. A nation founded on God, like the United States, a nation founded on Judaism, like Israel, is not just praying. They are building systems to overcome their challenges. They are becoming a national power because they are building systems that take them up. So many young Nigerians feel betrayed by the future. Some have responded with anger. Others have responded with escape. And both reactions are very understandable. I understand it. But neither is sufficient. The future will not be led by the loudest voices, but by the most prepared minds. So we need to prepare our young people for the future. They need to learn how systems work in finance, in data, in negotiation, institutions, and build competency before influence. They need to choose agency over alibi. Now, that is one of my major theses that I want to promote this year. There are two cultures in the world, the culture of agency and the culture of alibi and the culture of agency. Cultures like Nigeria is a culture of alibi. The colonial masters did it. It's because it's not zoned to us. It's because Yoruba people did it. It's because imperialism is stopping us from working. So at the end of the day, we have an alibi for our lack of development. But if you go to countries that embrace agency, and Rwanda has embraced agency, from a dirty capital called Kigali to now the world's cleanest capital, to now where the world goes to take Nigerian leaders like to take their people for retreat because Kigali is working. It is a country that have taken accountability, taken responsibility for their systems and rebuilt it. So on a closing, I want to say that history does not reward those who predicted collapse. So I don't want to be one of those that predict collapse. It remembers those who prepared for the rebuilding. The fact that we can identify all these issues, we can lament it. Don't forget, it is still in Nigeria that young Nigerians have built Money Point. Young Nigerians have built Paystack that people were ready to pay big money for. Young Nigerians have paid Flutterwave, building solutions. They are now challenging the big banks, and the big banks are beginning to learn from these challengers. So it is in effect to show that we can't really change Nigeria. We can change, but we need competence. We need capability. So Nigeria will not be saved by a dramatic moment in 2027. It will be rebuilt slowly, technically, sometimes very boringly, by leaders who take 2026 seriously, by people who govern when cameras are off, by institutions that function without applause, by citizens who insist that life must work even when politics is noisy, when politics is distracting us. We must demand accountability from our leaders. And the nations that endure are those that refuse to abandon the years that do not trend. We need to look at 2026 and hold our leaders accountable for this year. That is what will make 2027 work. So my prognosis for 2026 is that it is a year we have to deepen our governance ethos, that elections are important, but they do not define lives. That Nigerians are going to still take WAEC, they are still going to go to school, they're still going to get married, they're still going to die and be buried. And we need a government that cares for me and you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Professor Osita. My name is Sonny Enebi. Unfortunately, so I will be co-anchoring with Jumoke. Pastor has been knocked off, and I hope he'll be able to join us later. So thank you very, very much. I hope we'll be able to get a copy of your presentation.
Yeah, yes, you will be able to get an outline because I'm basically talking from my mind, but I have an outline. So I will develop it a little more and send to you.
Okay, because very, very insightful. And I'd like to start from the last thing you said. We must hold our leaders accountable. We must demand accountability from our leaders. And that is what happens in almost all civilized society. The big question is how? How do we do that?
So I'm not here to provide all the solutions, and I believe it's a conversation. But the
Yeah, it
first
is.
thing I will say is that one of the biggest hows is our refusal to join the politicians in the conversations that don't concern us. We need water in our house today. So joining you in discussing about your election, your business, I'm not sure any of us joins musicians to do their rehearsals and all that. We only enjoy the music when they bring it out. So
Yeah.
I think I think the important thing for us is to let our politicians know that, and our people, our government, that our demand for basic infrastructure does not go on holidays because you need to be re-elected. And like I said, I think we should campaign, all of us should join the campaign to make Nigeria shift to what I call a single tenure presidency. So nobody wastes our 4 years trying to get another 4 years. Because that's what happens with leaders. They don't take difficult decisions because they're waiting for the next 4 years. And when they get to that next 4 years, in less than 2 years, they become sitting ducks. Everybody is just telling they will soon go. So we need a leader that comes in. You have 5 years or 6 years, as the case may be. Focus, deliver the value you want to deliver, and then move on and allow the next person to come and take us from there. I think that if we stop joining the politicians in celebrating what is important to them, they may get the message that while 2027 is an important year for you, 2026 is an important year for us who are living here in the present and now.
Okay, all right. So I take that, and by civil society, all the people that need to put pressure, and will continue to do that. Let me go, and I like the data you provided on the road crashes, the average rates, the minus the coastal road. And I have a follow-up because Nigeria still struggles with road safety a lot. So from your experience, what do you think we are getting fundamentally wrong? Is it policy? Is it enforcement? Is it culture? And do you think that minus the coastal road, if we fix the existing roads network in Nigeria, maybe dualize them, will they be enough to serve us as a nation, or do we still need the Badagry, Sokoto, coastal road, the Lagos, Calabar coastal roads?
So you've gone into my area and I'm comfortable
Yes.
discussing this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a waste of everybody's time. And I'll tell you why. I've written an extensive article on this. So if you go to Athena Center's website, you will see my article on the coastal road. We took a position. So the coastal road is not a bad idea in a good time. I think we should plan it. And over the next 20 years, each government can build 100 kilometers, 50 as the time is going, traffic is expanding, the nation is growing, and we just keep building it across all the states it crosses. So like the Third Mainland Bridge, it took us many years to build. I don't see the hurry in building a coastal road. And I'll tell you why. Most of the people that talk about Nigeria, they haven't been on Nigerian roads. When I was called Marshal, I've traveled from Sokoto, Kauran, and Moda all the way to Bayelsa by road. And I've told them the 3 things that can happen on Nigerian road today. Why the trucks are having challenges in Nigeria is that the business, we are not building roads from our food production area to our ports and our airports. We are not building roads from where our traffic is taking us. And I will explain that shortly, briefly. So if you go from Lagos, Ibadan, it's dualized. It's a beautiful road now. It's getting better. But if you turn off at Shagamu, you turn off to Shagamu, Ijebode, or Benin. If we keep that road in good condition, don't expand, just in perfect condition. The road is at a very high water level area, so it always spoils periodically. So we need to just kind of build it on a base. If we invest money to build it on a base, on a foundation, and run it from Ore to Benin. And then when you get to Benin, you use the Benin bypass, and you continue to Asaba, to Benin Asaba, and it takes you to the second Niger Bridge, which brings you to Onitsha Owerri Express Road. So from Onitsha Owerri, you can go to Onitsha Owerri, and then from Owerri, you can then continue to Owerri Port Harcourt dualized road built by NDDC going to Port Harcourt. And then from Port Harcourt, you can join Port Harcourt Enugu Expressway. And you can detour left and go to Onitsha Enugu to connect back to Lagos. Or you can go right on the 9th mile. 9th mile, Makurdi, all the way to Jos. We need to dualize that road. This is the major traffic where Dangote cement is traveling from. This is where the fuel companies are traveling from. This is where the containers from One and Port Harcourt are traveling on. But if you look at the traffic, vehicles travel between Lagos and Ibadan Expressway, but Jabode, according to the government data, I used to have those data when I was in, but the current one they published. So what traffic are you trying to ease by going to the coastal road? What we need now is to connect Lekki to Ijebode so that the traffic from Lagos don't need to go into Lagos to come out to Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. They should come from Lekki and go straight Ikorodu and come to Ijebode so that they can join the Ijebode or Rebini Expressway. So there are quick fixes we need to do. In Abuja, we've done Lokoja-Abuja dualization. Abuja, Hawankibo to Jos dualization is ongoing through Lafia, through Akwanga is ongoing. And I think it's been completed by the Chinese. So we need to connect it to Makurdi. And then we need to take it from Makurdi to Jos dualization. Jos to Bauchi, which is a 1-hour journey, another one dualization. We have dualized Meduguri to Kanu. The dualization of Meduguri to Kanu is on. From Kanu to Kaduna is dualized. Going through, we need to do Zaria Jaji down to Abuja again. This will unlock the logistics of Nigeria. And the people talking about this in Abuja have not been on these roads. That's my problem. So if you go on these roads, if you take traffic data, it will make us realize that we need to unlock the logistics of this country. We need to make this country to move goods from our 3 critical nodal points. Lagos is a major port. Lekki City have come on stream. One is the number 2 port in Nigeria today. Then we have the Abuja International Airport, Enugu International Airport, Lagos International Airport, Kano International Airport, where we can export fresh produce from. We need to build highways that take us to those roads so that food from Makurdi can travel to Abuja and fly out of Nigeria. From Abuja, you can take all the goods happening in North Central to Kano or to Lagos Airport. But the way we are thinking about transportation now is not going to lead us anywhere. The Ministry of Works is building roads. The Ministry of Aviation is building airports. The Ministry of Marine is managing the ports. None of them is speaking to each other to talk about an integrated modal system that will make Nigeria work. So unlocking Nigeria's gridlock. Now, if you go to Asaba, from Asaba to Onitsha, second Niger Bridge, you will spend about 3 hours some days with trucks on that road, forming almost 2 kilometers of traffic because the road is not in good condition. This is what is bringing the cost of transportation in Nigeria high. From Lagos Port to Kaduna is about 3 million naira, which is $2,000. The container from China to Nigeria is $1,500. It costs you more to come from China to Lagos than to take it from Lagos to Kaduna. These are the gridlocks we need to be discussing and how we can resolve them. Not a new coastal road. It is about unlocking the logistic gridlock that we have in Nigeria and lowering transport costs in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you. So, Minister Umahi, anyway, this coastal road was not even subjected to any debate,
No, it was not.
by the National Assembly. It was just a one-man fiat, and it went all through like that. Okay, let's move on. You joined, and I see you are saying a lot of things. Very, very good in terms of leadership. You served Nigeria at different capacity. You were a regulator, FRS, you were a minister, and now you are a policy leader. Looking back at the government you served, because we often say it's easier to see what people in government should do when you are out of it. So you have been there. What will you say the government you served under? Because, sometimes people will point to you and say, weren't you there? What did you do when you were there? what were the challenges that you saw in government when you were serving that hindered you from maybe, doing so many of the things that you are now expanding?
So I don't want to, I tell Nigerians, I normally reject that debate, because if Nigerians voted out a government, the expectation is that the government you voted in will do better than the past one.
Sure.
So when you vote out a government, you're saying this government is not serving us well. So, but the data is now, the result is with us. Nigeria's economy was growing at 6 to 7% per annum in the years 2000, and I will say from 2003 till about 2014. Nigeria's economy was growing at 7%. You can see what the exchange rate was. Our GDP was rebased. You can see what it became. Some of the grand projects that we're talking about, the 4 new airports we have today, some of the projects that have come, the hydroelectric dam in Mambila, and a lot of them were started at that time. But like I said, that's not the debate. That government could have done more than they are doing now, considering the global atmosphere at that time and the challenges that current future government faced. But the challenge is that that was an inclusive government. It was inclusive in that every part of Nigeria, I keep telling people, President Jonathan was the only president that had his CSO. His CSO was from, I think he's from Katsina. His ADC was from Benue. Since the time of Buhari to now, every government has appointed only people from their ethnic groups to work with them in the villa. The Inspector General of Police was from the north during Jonathan's time. The CJ of Customs was from the north and then later from the east. If you look at the paramilitary organization, I am from the east. The man in charge of DSS then was from South. The chief of army staff was from north and then later on South, North Central and then South. Under Obasanjo, all the military chiefs we had were from North Central. None of them was Yoruba. So, but today, Nigeria has regressed to the point where the service chiefs are all from one ethnic group in both the Buhari government and in the President Tinubu's government. There will have been no problem with that if Nigeria was now enjoying premium security and the things are working. I don't care where they come from. I just want to be secured. I just want to go on the road. But the problem is that the security situation has continued to degenerate. So I think it is a poor argument about the past and the present. We should focus on the present. What did this government commit to do? And some of these challenges were not created by this government. I keep saying some of them were created by the past government. Some were even by multiple governments in the past. But what is our way forward? Every time we say, oh, this was done by the past government, are we saying that you are excused because you didn't create the problem? No, we elected you to solve the problem. Where we are now in Nigeria is give us a plan on how we will reverse these trends. And I think that's what all Nigerians should focus on. Past governments had serious issues, but the electorates did their choice. They voted them out. We're out. A new government was put in place. Are we getting better? Because we're not focusing on the important issues. That would be my thought on that.
Okay, great. I mean, there's no doubt. Thank you very much for that. There's no doubt that you have said, look, there is a leadership deficit in Nigeria as far as you are concerned. And whether it is vision, whether it is competence, whether it is people of integrity, hence you have formed this Athena Center for Policy and Leadership. Now, you also mentioned something in your presentation about, I got the 3 points, but I don't know the leadership. You said restraint, systems, and consequences.
Yes.
All right. And under systems, I think you mentioned measurement, monitor, and improvement.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people think that, and a lot of our leaders are behaving in a manner that they believe that nobody can ever hold them to account. They treat state treasury as their personal pocket money, whether it's at the center, whether it's at the various parastatals level. This issue of consequence, how can we get to it? I mean, I'm sure you must have thought deeply about this, and how can we form a system that works, and then how can we hold people to account consequence in Nigeria is almost nil. And people are just running riot around and doing whatever they want. I'm talking about leaders now.
Well, one of the things one of the books I enjoy reading is The Narrow Corridor, Acemoglu and co, who were the winners of the Nobel Prize in economics. I liked that book because it says that the Leviathan, the government, is always trying to be without consequence. And then there is the people. So it is the struggle by the people. It is the struggle that makes it possible for us to create a narrow corridor where we operate under rules and laws. One of my favorite current experience is Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, who many people say is doing so well, fighting the war in Gaza. He's done great things in securing Israel, but who is under investigation and trial for corruption in Israel. Now, when you think about Bibi's travails, you will say he was under trial for corruption. What was he corrupt for? He was corrupt for taking cigars, Havana cigars, as gifts, and, and for getting good media, for helping a media owner so that they will give him positive media outcomes, which was later found out that the media reports were not that positive, but that was what he did. And the commissioner of police in Israel is investigating that gift from people that he didn't declare and is charging him to court. And then the prime minister of Israel goes out saying, this is a witch hunt. I am being witch hunted by government institutions because they want to remove me from office. This is the prime minister saying, I am being witch hunted. And then the commissioner of police issues a statement and says he's warning the prime minister to refrain from further statements about an ongoing investigation. Otherwise, he will charge him for obstructing investigation. I think this story, for me, tells it all, what it means to have responsible government. These are governments that institutions are working. Nigerians have fallen in love with their captors, that the so-called Stockholm syndrome, that we sit down and be defending the indefensible because we support Mr. X or Y. So because I support President Jonathan, I will defend the indefensible. Because I support President Tinubu, I will say declaring a state of emergency and removing a governor is good. But the Nigerian Constitution says this country and any part of it shall not be governed in any manner except as prescribed by this Constitution. This Constitution did not prescribe a sole administrator governing any entity in Nigeria. The 1963 Constitution that declares state of emergency, 1962, has a place where a sole administrator can govern a place when you declare a state of emergency. It does not exist there was an act of parliament making it possible for you to declare a sole administrator. That is why the framers of 1979 Constitution, to avoid what happened in 1963, decided that there should be no sole administrator. This Nigeria and its parts thereof cannot be governed in any manner except as prescribed by this Constitution. This Constitution never prescribed a sole administrator ruling the government. So this kind of constitutional challenge is what Nigerians should challenge to create that knowledge, that what I call the narrow corridor. Our judiciary, unfortunately, went on a journey of his own and said that the president was right. And this is where, again, the judiciary in Nigeria, which I call judicial overreach, to go outside of what our constitution has prescribed. But in Israel, the president, the prime minister, wanted to remove the power of the judiciary to make those type of decisions. And there was rioting in Israel for almost 3 weeks. People came out on the streets refusing that the prime minister cannot have that power. In Nigeria, we will have defended it if it was an Igbo man. Osita will say it is good. If it is an Hausa man, Osita will say it is bad. Then Amadu will say it is good. But at the end of the day, the people that suffer are the Nigerians. So creating rules and checks and balances is a function of an active society. It was the elite of the United Kingdom, of the Britain, that went and fought with King Charles to get where we are today with the Magna Carta, who said, you cannot be taking our land and arresting us anyhow. So they raised a rebellion, and in solving that rebellion, they signed a document called the Magna Carta. This is the way that government, for you to be arrested, you must have a case. There must be habeas corpus. The court must say you should be produced in court. All these things we enjoy today was a struggle between the elites of the United Kingdom and the monarchy ceded some power. So for Nigerians to benefit from what I call a changing world order, our people must rise to the occasion. We must, as a nation, insist and demand that kind of governance. And like we said, Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel is begging for a pardon. President Trump had to come to Israel and beg them to give him a pardon. Nobody is challenging the police commissioner. Nobody is removing him from office for challenging a prime minister. That is because they know that the consequences will be dire if anybody tries that. But if you can remove him from office and nothing happens, if you can extend an IG by amending the law and nothing happens, then people will continue to do what they think they need to do. It's human instinct to self-preserve. But that human instinct, when it collides with an activist society, it will constrain the power of individuals to behave arbitrarily.
So, Osita, do you think we need a constitutional review? Do we need to change the framework of how we govern this country to get all these things you are saying in place? Because under the current structure, where the president appoints all these people, the state governors are kings and in charge, nobody is going to be held accountable.
Yes. Okay, so let me make a correction. When I said all service chiefs in this government, that's not a correct statement. I just saw a comment by somebody. That's not a correct statement. It's not all service chiefs. I was going to say that all the key offices that make the country work, all the key heads of key institutions. So we have customs, we have police, we have immigration, we have the Inspector General, the Chief of Army Staff, the DGSSS, and under Buhari, they were all Northerners. Under President Tinubu, they are all Yoruba people. So not all the service chiefs, because we have the Chief of Naval Staff, who is not Yoruba, the Chief of Defense Staff, and the Chief of Air Staff. So that's by way of correction. But I was pointing out that all the organs that manage the internal security of the country, this is what President Buhari
including all the people that handle the economy, by the way.
Yeah, and all the people that handle the economy.
Tax, now, CBN,
yes, the
Ministry
tax,
of Finance,
Minister of
NNPC,
Finance, yes, all Yorubas.
Yeah.
So these are the kind of points I'm making. And like I said, it won't be bad. If it's working, then that's fine. Everybody will know that. But my challenge with that is that it means that all the other people from all the ethnic groups that are not in the one of the president, if Osita was to become president, all the Yorubas in the organization, all the Northerners would then know that they cannot get to the top while Osita remains president. When Effiong becomes president, we know that all the Calabar people, non-Calabar people will not get to the top. So it's a danger for our society. We need to be inclusive. But back to the issue of constitution, I don't think that we need to be talking about, nothing is wrong with our constitution in my view. Nothing in our constitution says anybody should be able to take security vote and not account for it. It is in the constitution that the State House of Assembly should supervise the governor, should have a public account system that ensures that the budget is spent correctly, and should write an audit report and publish. Which House of Assembly is doing it? So what we see in Nigeria is that we are refusing to allow to do the work, and we're always talking about the design. So there can be a design problem in a house, but we need to obey the design rules that are already here now. Nothing in what we are doing today is what our constitution says we should do. So I'm afraid that we can write all the best constitutions in the world, but so long as we continue to support arbitrariness, so long as we should continue to support misbehavior in governance, then that will continue to remain a problem. And if you look at the Minister of Education in this government, I totally support all the decisions he's taken in the education sector. I'm always the first to come out and say, this is in the right direction, because he is a minister that is led by data. He's led by evidence. He came and said, look, government, put a 7-year moratorium on new universities and new polytechnics because the ones we have are not functioning well. He even pointed out there is a whole federal university with only 1,000 students, and yet they have an overhead of almost 3 billion every year paying salaries. So that's about the highest per capita expenditure on the university students. So he's led by evidence. The Minister of Health has been amazing. He's been able to deliver 6 centers of excellence for both cancer and what we call terminal diseases across Nigeria. And it is really working. So if you notice, there has been a drop in expenditure on foreign healthcare services. If you look at the 2025 central bank data, on the contrary, central bank data shows that there is now $2.6 billion between January and September spent on foreign education. So Nigeria is importing education, and for a country that has almost over 100 universities, we're still importing education at scale. So we need to do something to fix that. So some of the decisions of government are in tandem, but the public should hold the government accountable, should hold our leaders accountable. We should not allow their arbitrariness to become a culture. And that holding accountable is in multiple ways. So if we rewrite our constitution, I can tell you nothing will change. If we go to heaven and bring God to write a constitution for us, nothing will change. We had a law, we have had laws in this country. We have a federal character law that says this is how we will share our things in this country. In that same federal character law, President Buhari appointed 2 Northerners as both the chairman and the secretary of the Federal Character Commission. So the Federal Character Commission that is to enforce federal character did not respect it itself. So I don't believe that writing laws is the solution. I mean, it could help in making sure that all the areas that are not working are fixed. But what is tragic is that we fundamentally do not follow rules, and we should learn to do that. And we should force our governments to follow rules.
Thank you very much. We are going to open it up now for questions, and you know the way we'll do it here. There's engagement. Jumoke is going to be taking those Q&A sessions. But before that, let me ask you honestly, do you think, I know you left PDP, and are you planning on joining any political party? Are you going back, or are you currently a member of a party? I don't know. And do you honestly think that there is hope for Nigeria in the near future, given the trajectory of how we are going? So 2 questions.
You have put me in a tight corner with this, but I'm not in any political party.
Okay.
I don't want to remain a commentator. I will join a party in due course. I will run elections, and I will try to carry out some of these things I'm saying. I've done some of them before at the Federal Road Safety and Aviation, and I want to do it again. And I want to do it at a point where I'm a political leader, not an appointee. So people can measure what I'm saying. The only challenge is that Nigeria is a country that rewards silence and rewards compliance. So people like me that talk, they'll say, Osita, he talks too much. He's too smart. He will not do this. So they prefer those that are saying, yes, sir. They will come to your house and kneel down and live with you. But all the governors that have done it are quarreling with their successors because human beings can deceive you, but people that don't have value cannot add value. So I will in due course. About the future of Nigeria, I'm an Afro-optimist and I'm a Nigerian optimist. I believe that there is no country like Nigeria. Our capacity is amazing. I have a concept I call Niger and Nigeria. When you look at Nigeria, Nigeria has issues. It's that place we don't want. Our ethnicity is dividing us. Our capacity is weakened in Nigeria. But when you look at Niger, that area where the government is absent and Nigerians are expressing themselves in our music, in our movie industry, in our clothing, in our in our football, in all the areas where we forget about who we are and think about ourselves as Nigerians. In the business that we see in Nigeria, whether it is OPay, whether it is MoneyPoint, whether it is Paystack, whether it is all the logistics businesses that have emerged in Nigeria, whether it is Nigerian who founded Calendly, which is now $1 billion business in the US, I can show you that Nigerians are thriving in that space where our government is not an inhibitor, where our government is just an enabler, or where our population provides us opportunity. Our population is amazing. It is young. It is developing. Our population is likely to sustain no matter the level of production we have in Nigeria if they are educated, empowered, and brought and allowed to thrive. So I am a Nigerian optimist. I think that once we get it right, that government is the enabler, that the government will go back to the basics and perform the functions of governance. And like we said, show some restraint, leadership that shows restraint, leadership that builds systems, Nigeria will take off. And that taking off is something that is ongoing in all this area where, even if you look at our medical area, many Nigerians abroad are coming back and setting up hospitals here, and they are thriving. Many Nigerians are now setting up online universities are coming up. Private universities that are globally competitive are coming up. So if we begin to be intentional about development, if our states can join with the federal government to have multi-year plans to develop our local governments brought together into this, Nigeria is going to be is going to work. And I don't think we need a constitutional right to do that. I think, yes, we can do that. We've been amending our constitutions. Railway used to be in the exclusive list. Now it is in the concurrent list. Electricity used to be in the exclusive list. Now it's in the concurrent list. So Nigeria is work in progress. And I believe that we should not be too hard on ourselves. We should not forget that no country in Africa has our stock of dual carriageways. No country in Africa has our consumptive capacity. No country in Africa does not witness Nigeria's soft power, whether it is our movies, our music, our sports. Every country in Nigeria looks up to us. So I am a total Nigerian optimist, but I also believe that Nigeria has to realize its potentials. Nigeria has to work harder to achieve that potentials that is inherent in us. We can't be a major oil producer and forget that palm oil sells far more than crude oil today. And we're importing crude palm oil from Malaysia. We spent $150 million last year importing crude palm oil. Why should we do that in a country like Nigeria? We imported corn last year and last 2 years because we don't have enough for feed for chicken. Why should we import corn in Nigeria? We imported rice last year so that we can bring down the price of rice. What that has done is that next year, our local farmers are not going to farm rice because they all lost money this year. So I call on the government to provide subsidies for our rice farmers. Otherwise, nobody's going to farm rice in 26. So these are issues that make us realize that between Niger and Nigeria, Nigeria is the moribund and Niger is the hope. Let's bring the spirit of Niger to Nigeria, and I think our country will unlock.
Excellent. Well said. Let's open it up to the people. I'm sure a lot of them are willing to engage with you. They have multiple questions, and I really thank you for your take so far. Jumoke, are you there?
Thank you. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Osita, for that very insightful and brilliant conversation.
I'm not yet the professor.
Okay, Doctor, Honorable.
You are a professor by practice.
I mean, I'm not going to ask any questions, but you've really set the context for this year and the conversation that we as Nigerians should be having. And one of the things that I'm going to keep reflecting on, and I'm going to ask everyone to reflect on, is 2026 doesn't exist for a lot of us. And that's a reality that we have to face and begin to unpack a lot of the things that you have spoken today. So let me move quickly to the questions and answers. We have a lot of hands up. We'll usually, the way we do this, we take 3 together, we group 3 questions, and then we ask you to answer them together. And then we take the next set of 3 questions. I would also try to help take a note of the questions, and then we'll also get some from the chat room. So I'm going to appeal to everyone that has their hand up. Please, let's bypass the pleasantries. It's good to see everyone, and let's keep the questions directly to the point. We're not going to ask 3-part questions today. We're going to just keep it very succinct. I will put on the timer and ask everyone to please respect the time. so that we can get as many people as possible. So I'm going to ask Auntie Yemisi to please go ahead and unmute, and then I'll ask Stephen Lawson and then Prince Nsofo to please go ahead with their questions. Go ahead, Ma, we've asked you to unmute, and the timer starts now.
Thank you so much, Jumoke. Good to see everyone. Thank you, Dr.
Auntie Yemisi,
can you hear me?
Are you there?
Can you hear me? I am speaking.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so my time starts now. Dr. Osita, it's always so good to hear you and see you.
Can everyone hear Auntie Yemisi, or is it me?
Well,
it's just
I can
you.
hear her. Maybe it's you.
Auntie Yemisi, just go ahead. I will reach out to her.
Okay. I've always had a lot of respect for your professionalism and character, and your optimism is really infectious. And you really solidified my admiration for you by providing a truthful, unbiased clarity during the controversial JAM results saga. We need more Nigerians like you. I was on a webinar a few days ago and talking about the aftermath of the US bombing, and the discussants highlighted the need for the government to communicate the impact of the exercise more robustly. Now, my question is, the cultural implications of our governance structures. Most people had no expectations for clarity and wanting to demand accountability, for what the US government did. And this seems to be a trend. We don't seem to have a natural tendency to require and demand accountability from our leaders, whether it is in the home, in the office, or the public institutions. Now,
thank you.
my question
Auntie, can you please round up?
Yes,
please?
that's just, you've wasted my my time. So please, just give me the time to round up now. So empowering the citizens to be at the vanguard of change and to take ownership of the recommendations you are making, the change you want to see. How do we get the average citizens to engage and take ownership of these changes that we want to see? Is it by institutionalizing stakeholder engagement at local government levels? How do you, Osita, organize to change minds in your own community regarding these areas that we need reforms? Is it by organizing regular polls to illustrate the sentiment and perception of the citizenry as they do in America? Almost every day,
I have to cut
these
you.
polls.
Sorry.
So what are your recommendations?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So sorry. Go ahead, Stephen. Stephen Lawson. I'm going to take Prince Nsofo. Please go ahead, sir.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Professor Osita. I must say, I think this has been one of the most brilliant sections that I've actually witnessed in a lot of forums.
Go ahead, Stephen. Go ahead.
Stephen, we're having issues with your audio. So if you may want to log out and log in because of time. So please go ahead, Prince Nsofo.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation, I would say. Number one, please, practically speaking, because we tried it in the past, for call it the NSAS. Practically speaking, how do we approach the issue of demanding accountability from public servants? How do we practically, considering where we are today? Number two, a lot of young people, and I think we have mentioned it in this forum in the past, a lot of people seem to have lost interest in the nation, which we see by the Japa syndrome. What would you advocate as a way of reversing that trend? Would you subscribe to going over there and building a consensus, a resource tool, however, and then coming back home, or to act from outside with a base? How would you encourage that, seeing that the hope of the nation is in these young people? I mean, we see how many people are passing on by age, and these young people are losing hope in the nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for keeping to time. We are going to ask the next person, Mr. Henry Kentebe. Please go ahead and unmute and ask your question. Henry, please unmute.
Thank you, Sister Jumoke, for this opportunity, and Happy New Year to everyone. Dr. Osita, I just have one question and a comment. We can't say that the Nigerian Constitution doesn't have its disadvantages, because looking at just saying every state should produce a minister, that has led to a big government already. So we have to keep that in mind. The Nigerian Constitution is not designed for results. It's just for nepotism. So my second comment is...
why not take the drug at once first?
So my second comment is about 2027, because everybody seems to be ready for 2027, so we have to be prepared. Please, if you have the ears of the opposition leaders, they should not kid themselves that Bola Tinubu is going to conduct a free and fair election. They should know that he's planning to make sure that they circumvent the system. So they should just keep that in mind. And second of all, I do not think he's going to fear the Atiku Obi or whatsoever. He doesn't respect all those things. The opposition should make sure that they partner with the White House to keep Bola Tinubu in check. And with that, yeah, thank you. Those are just my comments.
Thank you very much. Over to you, sir, if you can address all those three comments and questions, and then we'll take the next set.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, government. So the first question talked about accountability from our leaders, and was follow up with how to get average citizens to hold government accountable. And I don't know, it's a question that always is asked, how to, but I'm not sure there is a textbook how to. What is important is that, and that is the area I've elected to operate in while I started the Athena Center, a knowledge production and dissemination platform. So we publish every week, and we publish the Athena Perspective. Monthly, we publish the polls, and quarterly, we do the governance insight. So we took up the issue, one of our governance insight took up the issue of lack of transparency in Nigerian universities. And we published it and showed with evidence that Nigerian universities are not credible in their accountability. And we compared them with universities in Africa, Asia, US. Every university, you can get all the information about students, number of students, you can get the information on their budget, expenditures, and all of that. And except in Nigeria, not one university in Nigeria had any such information for the public. But the Minister of Education did not fight us. He did not defend himself. He sent a message to me and said, this is a great oversight. And he directed all the universities that by May 31st, 2025, all this information should be on their website. So we set up a tracker. And by May 31st, almost 95% of the universities had uploaded that information. So we didn't stop there. In our recommendations, we recommended a transparency portal because it has implications for Nigeria. Whether we will attract global funding, international NGOs funding, is determinant on our transparency. Those agencies don't put monies where there is no accountability. So last year, towards the end of last year, the minister unveiled the Nigerian Transparency Portal with our Tina Center as part of the members of the board to ensure that it functions well and that we begin to have greater transparency. He has even deepened it. He's now, from there, we are now bringing in the internal generated revenue of universities, which the professors never used to account for. Our vice chancellors, they never used to account for it. But now, we now have public view on it. So that for me is the value I want to bring from my experience in government, that some of the things we complain about are of a technical nature. Nobody went and wrote in our constitution that nobody should publish accounts. So how do we get people to get there is this information, removing this information asymmetry, giving people unbiased information. Because once information is biased, then he's an Igbo man, then he's Yoruba, then he's Christian, then he's Muslim, then he's from my party. But once we stick to the information, we stick to the facts, I believe that Nigerians will gradually begin to get to the point when they understand how decisions of government impacts them. So somebody's asking me, how do we join the center? Just go on our website and subscribe to our newsletters and our information. You will be getting it every week. We will send it. It's free of charge. We don't charge for it, and it's just and we have constant dialogues like this on our website. So we announce events to look at things deeply and to do that. We're also with Plateau State government doing the same thing. We showed the Plateau State governor that only 2 local governments have websites in the whole of Plateau State, and that even the ones that have websites has no information impacting the citizens. So now that is being retooled. Let's look at houses of assembly in Nigeria. If you go to YouTube, all the regional house of assembly in South Africa beams their events every day on YouTube. All over the world, the proceedings of houses are online, real time. Only Lagos State does that in Nigeria this time, and then also the National Assembly. But now with the work we are doing with some partners, we are trying to get all the states to start beaming their processes live. Now, that will give citizens opportunity to see, are these the people making these laws for us? Is this how they are really making these laws? And we can then begin to face them, seriously. So I believe information is the number one way. And how to approach demanding accountability, he talked about NSAS. Yeah, NSAS was a successful outing because the government doesn't want another NSAS. One of my friends started an online university. So he wanted to start in Kenya. He was surprised how helpful the Kenyan authorities were, how they were willing to do anything to support him to start. So when he now said, why are these people being this nice? This is unlike Africa. The man said, we have a youth problem. Anybody that has an institution where we can keep young people away from the streets, we are ready to support that institution. So nobody should deceive you. African governments are worried about young people. Kenya nearly toppled the president of Kenya when the young people started. You've seen what is happening in Iran. You've seen what is happening in other countries where young people have toppled governments. So no government wants it. But what needs to happen is that we have to be clear about what we're looking for. We have to be clear about what we're demanding. And that's where we're building that bridge of non-partisan dialogue, of making sure that what we are discussing is what can happen now and not what is in the future. A way of reversing the lack of interest in Nigeria, good governance is the way. I'm thinking that if we have good governance, Nigerians going abroad is something I like. If I am the president of Nigeria, I will open an office for legal migration. If I'm governor of a state, I'll be sponsoring my people to go abroad. Because if you want to look at the value people bring from going abroad, look at India, what the Indian diaspora has done for India. All the key American companies are now, technology companies are now being manned by Indians. If you look at what the Lebanese have done across Africa and Nigeria in business, so Nigeria should really, we are 200 million people, we should really go out. But what will happen is that we should go out in such a way that we will bring the knowledge, the capital, $18 billion of remittances coming to this country from Nigerians abroad. We need it to be 50 billion so that we can build hospitals that endure. We can build systems that work. Nigerians can build private businesses that can bridge the gap in our governance failure. So I don't want anybody complaining about us going abroad. What we should be complaining about is that we should make Nigeria hospitable for those abroad to want to come home. The Indian diaspora has turned India the medical tourism place of the world just by them going back to India and building hospitals where they don't have to pay the nurses $30 per hour. They don't have to pay doctors almost $50, $70 per hour. So Nigeria may well turn out to be a destination for medical tourism in Africa and in the South if we plan correctly and our international doctors come back to Nigeria. So we can reverse it by just basic amenities, securing Nigeria, making sure our taps are running, just making sure basic things, our streets are numbered, people who commit crimes are caught, our courts function, and cases don't last 7 years before you get judgment in Nigeria. And I think Lagos State has been particularly active in this. They started the small claims court. They've started all kinds of innovations, the arbitration panel. Lagos is one state I admire for always innovating and trying to ease the gridlock that Nigeria has become. So we can learn from that. And I believe that that's what led us to Dirty December. Once people see that Nigeria is safe and working, more and more people will come to see what they can do in Nigeria. We have an English-speaking young population. We have a large population. We are 6 hours away from Europe. We are 6 hours away from South Africa, 5 hours away, 8 hours away from the United States, 9 hours away from South America. We are positioned literally in the middle of the world. And we can go from Nigeria to Asia in about 11, 12 hours. So it's an amazing country. We're positioned very well. And I think that if we fix our internal issues, not perfect, because people are still investing in South Africa despite the crime in South Africa. People are still going to Colombia for holidays. People are still going to Marrakesh. People are still going to Cape Town because people go where capital is. So I think we need to begin to return Nigeria to the basics. And he said our constitution was designed for failure. Well, it's a point of view, but I don't agree. So we said one minister per state. If we now see that it is not working, we can amend our constitution to say 2 ministers per geopolitical zone or 3. Why do we have a Federal Executive Council with ministers from all the states? Because we wanted a situation where all states are available, where decisions are taken about infrastructure distribution. Because we still play distributional politics, that's why the states are important. Once we go into derivative politics, like we're going to go with VAT, I just wrote an article about VAT, and I said, VAT now is a state tax. It doesn't matter whether it is Igbo people paying it in Kano or it is Hausa people paying it in Enugu. What matters is the state where it is captured. Before now, it is 50% equality of state, 20% population, and 30% population, and 20% derivation. Now that has been changed. It's now 60% derivation, 20% population, and 20% equality of states. So that means that every state will now start working. And to make that work, they've also changed the VAT to say VAT will be captured at the state where it is. So MTN can no longer file as Lagos because their headquarters is in Lagos. The VAT consumed in Anambra will go to Anambra. The VAT done in Sokoto by MTN buying your recharge card will stay in Enugu. If you're in a bank and you pay VAT on transfer, that VAT will go to the state, not to Sterling Bank headquarters, where it is now aggregated to Lagos. So Nigeria is evolving. We are making new policies that will change some of those we hold there. Our constitution did not require the vice president to take over from the president when he's not available. But now we changed our constitution after Yaradua and said, if you don't do this in this number of months, the vice president automatically becomes the acting president. So we learn, we improve. So I don't think our constitution was designed for failure. It was designed by people who were solving the problem of their time, of inclusion. Now we are now going to solve problem of distribution. We are now going to solve the problem of reduction of cost of governance. And we can rewrite our constitution to do that. The president will rig the election. I can assure you, let me tell you something. One of the things we do in the Athena Center is an Athena Election Observatory. We've done post-election audits in Edo, in Imo, Bayelsa, Kogi, and we came out with reports that the Kogi election was rigged. The governor that won would not have won if he didn't rig the election in 3 local governments. In the case of Imo, we pointed out that the governor of Imo added almost 300,000 votes to his votes, even though if you minus it, he still wins the election. In Bayelsa, we said that APC added almost 100,000 votes to their votes and still lost to the governor. So what I'm telling you is that the elections is not easy to rig. It will not be easy to rig. Nigeria has made progress. Unless on the election day, they will do like Museveni, shut down internet, shut down BVAS, shut down IREV, and then announce a result in Abuja. But if results are going to be done at the polling unit, counted, taken to the ward, collated, and then announced in any state, tell me, how can anybody write result for President Tinubu in Kano State when Kwankwanso is on another ticket? It's not going to happen. How is he going to write the result in Sokoto? It's not going to happen. He will bribe the people of Sokoto. They will go out on their own and vote for him, whoever they want to vote. He can never win election in Anambra if the people of Anambra are going to vote for Peter Obi. So forget it. It's not that simple anymore. Nigeria has gone beyond that. We don't need the White House for that. All we need are serious political parties who are going to listen to what we are saying. 2 things we've asked them to do. Let INEC publish the BVAS number together with the Form EC8A on the IREV. When they publish they take a snapshot of the EC8A, they should also publish the number accredited by BVAS. They were doing it in Edo, they were doing it in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi. Then they stopped. So what they do now is after election, they can go and tamper with those figures. But if we do these 2 simple things, I can assure you, the president cannot, or anybody for that matter, cannot rig the election. It's not going to be that simple. And I believe that those of them calling for White House partnership, well, we have to be careful what we look for because we're a sovereign country. We should be able to solve our problems. The White House is not the solution to our problems. After all, Americans elected Donald Trump. I don't care what anybody thinks about him, but they exercise their country's choice by electing the president they feel can defend their country at that time, despite all the issues and baggages he came with. So they should allow us as Nigerians to make our choice, but let that choice be respected and let's enforce that Nigerians' voices are heard in that vote.
Thank you so much. We are going to take the next set of 4 questions and the next set of 5 questions, and we're very mindful of your time. So we'll have Abubakar. Please go ahead and ask questions. Joseph Olonsho will be next. Ezia Konobi will be next. And then Abiola will be next. So please go ahead, Mr. Abubakar, with your question.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, I just want to contribute to the entire meeting. The speaker has said a lot. I must say, I must commend him for his contributions. But I would like to contribute on the matter of citizens seeking accountability from their leaders. I think one medium the citizens should send their grievances, I think, is through the Ministry of Information. But my worry is that ministers of information don't do a lot when collating all these issues. You know, ministries will be given to people who doesn't have skills and experience in those areas. So I think the speaker should have like a medium, like an MOU with the Minister of Information, where all these kind of grievances will be sent to the Minister of Information, where political offices holders will be held accountable for whatever they are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for keeping to time. Mr. Kolosho, please go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you very much. I really thank our guest. I have two questions. The first one is my little knowledge about commerce or about tax in commerce is tax is a fraction of your income. How do you feel? What is your opinion that all the emphasis on the new tax law, which is equally like dual tax law, that we did not emphasize on how we can help Nigeria to be generating income so that we can now say, let's take a fraction of that tax. All emphasis out to get. What is wrong with putting more emphasis on how Nigeria can generate more income? Then the second question is, I know that you do very, very well as when you were in your either as a minister and equally when you're in road safety. How will you feel if, for example, God forbid, a personnel of your or a staff of road safety then is being murdered by a criminal and you want to negotiate with that criminal, he will wear the uniform of that your personnel and tell you not to come with any of your personnel to come with any uniform for a negotiation table. I'm referring to issue of an assistant commissioner of police that was murdered, and the person who was responsible for his murder asked, go to negotiation, don't wear it, and even impersonate the person that he murdered. How will you feel? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to have Mr. Ezeanokubi. Please go ahead with your question.
Thank you, sister. Thank you, Chief Osita Chidoka. Your words always resonate change. The impact you have done in Nigeria, especially when you serve at road safety, is still the template they are using up to date. I want to ask, why is it that most time we allow bad leaders to stay longer than necessary before the whole country will say enough is enough? Because sometimes, because of this second term syndrome, when every leaders, whether local government, whether state, whether federal, always seek for second term, whether whether they perform very well or perform very badly. Why do you allow that a country can forgo a whole 8 years to a non-performing president or governor or whoever, just because we felt that people are afraid to talk? What should we do to stop that kind of situation so that the country could be regarded as more important than the ambition of an individual? Again, how do we make our judges realize the onerous tax they accepted when they were appointed as judges and reach and dispense judgment according to law and not according to their own judicial opinion? Thank you. This is my question.
Thank you very much. We are going to take the fourth question. Abiola, please go ahead.
If you don't mind, okay. I didn't quite get the first question he asked before the one of the judges.
Okay.
Let me repeat that.
Yes.
Okay. My question is this: why do we allow leaders who do bad in performance to seek for second tenure and most time get it effortlessly? Like the last president who had spent 8 years. Even when some of us are saying that this man is not doing very well, people who are enjoying power today were praising him to high heaven because they wanted to take power. How do we stop that kind of repeating itself in 2027 so that we will take the country as more important than the ambition of any individual, whether president, governor, or local government chairman, or whoever he is? That is my question, sir.
Okay.
Okay, I got it.
So this is the last one in the 4 sets, and then we'll move to the last. Please go ahead, Abiola.
All right, yes, good evening, everyone. I have a comment and a question. My comments is that I feel like this is a space for us to be able to build ourselves as youth and leaders. But I've noticed that most persons spend more time criticizing the current government and all of that. I think we are deviating from the reason why we are here. I think we should focus better on how to make ourselves better persons, better leaders, and better youths. Other than, because if we want to look deep, most of us are, if we have the power, we would perform woefully, and we would do more worse things than what is currently happening in Nigeria today. That's the average Nigerian. Yes, then my question is, how do we move from just, yes, I've joined a lot of space and we keep deliberating, brainstorming, and bringing ideas. How do we start acting? How do we start acting? I'm personally, I'm tired of coming to spaces, discussing, brainstorming, making suggestions. How do we get into work? Let us set a template. We can come up as volunteers, as NGOs, do something. When the government sees that you're taking up that responsibility, they'll be forced to integrate you into the system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Over to you, sir, and then we'll take the last 4.
Again, we're how to grow the economy, really, not just talking about tax, taking portion of the income. That's an important question. And I think that the government, is a chicken and egg situation for governments, actually. So you need tax revenues to grow the state, to grow the pie. You need the pie to grow for people to pay better taxes, to have money to pay taxes. So we then have this chicken and egg situation. If you look at most Western countries, their local governments and their states, even the federal government, they borrow largely because they want to deliver the service now and then use the tax revenues to pay the interest, service the interest, and pay back the amount. The problem with Nigeria is that we borrow, but we don't use it in a targeted manner to deliver targeted, services. So if, for instance, you say you want to build the Enugu Water Works system and or the Ibadan water, Greater Ibadan Water Scheme, and that you're going to pipe the water to every house. Because I don't know why we have accepted in Nigeria that pipe-borne water is no more important than it is borehole water that we'll all be using. So we seem to have accepted it, and the government has been moved from that responsibility. But let's assume you borrow the money now, and it is 1 billion or it's 100 billion, and you built it, and then you go to the property tax, what do you call them, tenement rate in every house, and add another, say, 1,000 naira to be collected over the next 10 years to service the loan and pay. So the citizens are getting the benefit today and paying now for tomorrow. And that water alone or light unlocks possibilities for them. Those that have businesses to deal with water, you put water meters and you are collecting revenues generated and all of that. So I think that the challenge in Nigeria is if we don't collect taxes, we will not have the money to grow. But for us to collect taxes, people will have the capacity to earn that money, and people will have the capacity to save. If you go to Asia, household savings are about 30% of income is what people are. That in some Asian countries, up to 40% of income is being saved. And let nobody tell you it's about rich and poor. It's about a mindset and a culture. The average Asian will save, no matter, even if he's going to be eating only rice every day. He will eat that rice every day and still save. So, or even drink water, they call it water and vegetable. They will do it and still save. But in Nigeria, we are very consumptive. We consume a lot. Our national savings is very low, that we don't have the wherewithal to borrow long-term funds. So I think that maybe with the collection of these taxes, if the government improves tax collection, then citizens will get more aggressive in oversighting government when they realize that it is their money that the government is spending and not some phantom oil money from somewhere. If you are a US ambassador, you are required to fly economy, except if you are flying for more than 12 hours, if you're a US ambassador. So the US ambassador to Nigeria, who all Nigerians big men rush to go whenever he invites us to occasion or invites you to his house or says he's coming to your house, every Nigerian is showing him off. He comes to Nigeria on economy, on the cheapest economy that is available. The reason is that some of them are rich enough to even fly first class, but their government does not permit it. It's the optics that you can't use taxpayers' money to buy luxury. So when you use taxpayers' money, the public must see you using the cheapest possible means to get to your destination. So it's about a mindset. In Nigeria, we think that being rich or becoming big is when you consume and consume conspicuously. When you drink Cristal champagne, $1,000 bottle of drink, and then you become a big man. And the Nigerian masses praise it. So I think that collecting tax may help us to now become more conscious of how our government is spending our money. In turn, will force the government to invest in things that will make us unlock the economy. Negotiation with bandits, I know no for me. As a marshal, if you attack any of my staff and they get you, I do not accept any form of negotiation. We must go to court. And in many cases, I've sent the people to prison. Some of them went to prison 1 month, 2 months, they will be crying and begging, calling people to talk to me. I said it is non-negotiable because any person wearing a uniform standing on the road is wearing the full authority of Nigeria. So if you have any issues, if he behaves badly to you, please report him to us. I sacked over 1,000 staff of the Federal Road Safety for one violation or the other. We set up a board. The board of inquiry tries him and brings him out. I dismiss the person immediately. You cannot take Nigerians for a ride. But for a Nigerian to now attack you physically, the girl is an FRSC officer. That girl should not drive again in Nigeria, please. Withdraw the license permanently. So that next time when he sees people, he will think about it. So for anybody to negotiate with a bandit, it means that the state capacity already failed. That's the most visible form of state failure. We should not indulge in it unless, and I said in another interview that because we've been electing governors who are compliant people, who know how to say yes, sir. We don't want people that speak, any governor that is living. So they're also compliant to terrorists because they have no capacity of their own to fight, to say this no more. We heard Governor Rufai say no negotiation. I will not give you food. I will not send food to you in the bush to stay. So we need to see governors, we need to elect governors and presidents that are outspoken. People that says, this line is a red line. If you cross it, I deploy everything I have in pursuit of justice. So I think that it is a no-no. How do we make, why do we allow leaders to get second term? You see, that's my point. We should stop this second term thing. Because if we don't, what happens is that Nigeria is not a rule-governed society. So the money that they use to fight for second term is not money from campaign donors. We don't even have a campaign donation tracking system. We don't even have a campaign account system. So once they become governor or president, they turn around and collect their security vote for 2, 3 months or 4 months and use it to fund the election. So at the end of the day, Nigerians are the losers. You are contesting against an incumbent governor. You carry I've run an election against an incumbent. While I was thinking how to buy fuel to move my campaign team, while I was busy calculating where to get money to buy vehicles and hire vehicles to move people, he was using state government vehicles, state government fuel, state government facilities with police and going around for campaign. In the US, when the US president goes on campaign using the Air Force One, they charge him the price of all the people with him. They charge them the price of a first class ticket for that trip plus $1. So the campaign organization gets a bill from the campaign. The campaign organization gets a bill from the government, how much they have spent. If you're a state governor, you use vehicles, you buy fuel, they calculate the depreciation, the fuel for the day, the journeys you've gone, and they send the money to the campaign. So you cannot be campaigning with the advantage of carrying all the state paraphernalia while the people challenging you are busy thinking where they will get money for the next 50 liters of fuel. So we have a society that doesn't yet have the capacity to restrain in office. I don't think we should be doing this second term. 5 years, 6 years of presidency, you're fine. You finish your tenure, you go. But allowing them to use the instrument of state to contest again, Nigerians are really paying for the second term, not the elected officers. So the case of our judges is tragic because now judges are now a home for politicians' wives, our children, everybody is lobbying for their village person to become a judge. Judges are complaining that the conditions of office are bad and that the terms of work, the conditions of service are bad, salary is poor, and yet they are bringing their children into the judiciary. I've never seen anybody who brings their children to where things are not working. They are bringing their children because, judges now have access to cash. So what I think should happen is that we should have an open, competitive process of choosing judges. They should write exams conducted by JAMB or an external body. They should go through the interview process, EFCC, ICPC, investigation. They publish the reports publicly. The exam results are publicly, and we see who was chosen after the exam and why the person was chosen. So we expect you to choose the top people that pass. If for any reason we want to show discretion, there has to be a rational reason why it is being shown. So I think that the first stage in reforming the judiciary is to reform the recruitment system of judges in Nigeria. As it is today, it's not going to sustain good government. So when do we start acting and not talking? This talking is part of the acting. I don't like it when people denigrate the intellectual work. It is not easy to design a house. We may not go to the site to physically build, but designing is 50% of the work done. So if we understand, have clarity about what we want to do, doing it will be a lot easier. But if we start doing without a clear plan, then we're a danger to society. And that is not to say that we don't need to do. I'm only saying that these conversations are an important part of the doing because we need to develop clarity about what we want out of our society, who we want to carry it out, and how we want them to carry it out. So I'm only saying that we're already acting. What we need next is to figure out what type of leaders to elect, how to hold them accountable, how to use the instrumentation of protest and all of that to get our governments to change their direction. But don't get tired of talking. It's part of acting when we gain clarity about our future.
Thank you so much. We are up on time, so we're going to take the last four, and then you can add your closing remarks to your comments. We are over time now. We've run. Please go ahead, Mr. Suleiman Aliu.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for a wonderful presentation, Dr. Osita. My name is Suleiman Atahiru. My question goes like this. Sir, as an optimistic Nigerian and a political leader, will you rather be loyal to your political party or to an individual politician whom you believe genuinely means well for Nigeria and Nigerians, irrespective of where the politician is from your political party or not from your political party? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for that. We are going to ask Hope. Please go ahead and keep it short too. Thank you. Hope, go ahead with your question. Okay. If we don't have Hope, I'll move to the next person. Hope, we have asked you to unmute. Please go ahead and unmute. Okay, I'll move on to Michael. Michael, please go ahead and unmute.
Thank you very much, Jumoke. I hope you can hear me very clearly.
Yes.
I'm in an open space. And I thank you very much for this platform. And of course, my dear friend and younger brother, Itua. What a wonderful platform this is. I don't have much of a question, but I will make a remark in the hope that with time we will repurpose and broaden the scope of this engagement. You know, I have listened to the gentleman speak, and of course, I could tell that he's very sincere and passionate about the future of our country. I'm hoping. Oh, has it gone up?
No, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. I'm hoping that maybe in subsequent engagements, let us do a situational analysis of our country. And that's why I align myself with the sentiment expressed by the fourth speaker in the second cohort that spoke. The fourth speaker, Demola, I believe it was. Are we truly prepared for democracy? And I want to ask our guest speaker to point to one country for me and anywhere in the world that in the last 60 years has moved from underdevelopment to sustainable growth under Western-style democracy. Cite an example. Look for an example anywhere. I know he has cited South Africa, which I know very well, is on the road to being a banana republic. So that's why I'm hoping that in our next engagement, let's do a situational analysis and not engage so much in citing examples that are completely irrelevant to our circumstance. Thank you very much, Morgan.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to ask Mrs. Ifeanyi to please go ahead with her question, and then Hope. I'm sorry, Dr. Itunoluwa, we are taking Hope as the last question. Go ahead, okay. Go ahead, ma.
Good evening, everyone. Iko Bosi, I'm on my knees. He's a titled man in the East. I've listened to you carefully and you're always on point. But I'd like to say something profound this evening. The quality of every society is the quality of its citizenship and leadership. Iko Bosi, you mentioned something about people coming to you to put them in post. Do they have capacity and competence? In Nigeria, we are running with a rare 11. We need to run with the first 11. We need to encourage people to invest in continuous and consistent personal growth and development. That is the secret of the Japanese miracle. It's called Kaizen. Every day, a Japanese man or woman is better tomorrow than today. Our educational and parenting curricula are focused primarily on formal certifications. In Nigeria, the citizenship and leadership have formal certifications. Many of us lack common sense. We lack wisdom. We lack vibrant health. Many of us are struggling in our lives and we're not able to make empowering choices. We need to learn from people like you. Why are you the way you are? Iko Bosi, why are you so passionate and patriotic? Someone like Dr. Alex Oti over there, why is he the way he is? We need to learn lessons from these role models and prepare our young ones for leadership. I am very passionate about this situation because I've been communicating with you. But I'm yet waiting for your response. Nigeria can change.
Every day of the week, Fridays.
Just 1 second. Sorry, we just Pastor. Okay, he has unmuted. He's muted. Go ahead, Maranga. Okay. Did we lose her? Okay. Sorry about that interference. We're going to take Hope. Hope is the last question. Please go ahead, Hope.
Christ. And the card was given to you.
Hello. Hi, Auntie Chidoka. How
go
are
ahead
you?
with your question. That's the last.
Yes. I want to say good evening to everybody. Thank you, Pastor Itua, for this. Thank you, Iko Bosi, for always being excellent. I do have a question, though. I have 2 questions, please. The first question is, do you still have influence on how the federal road safety works today? Because we notice that they're a shadow of themselves. The road safety we have today is not the same when you were Corps Marshal. I'd like to know, how much influence do you still have, or do you play an advisory role? That's number 1. And number 2, is there any way that you could just run for president?
Was that
Thank
your
you very
question?
much.
Oh.
My question to him is, because we're talking about leadership and all that, I believe that consistency is a key in development. And we seem to lack that. We seem to have a lot of policy somersaults. Okay. So I'd like to know
you,
if...
Sir. I think that was Hope that was your last question, correct?
Yeah, the second part of the question was, would he please run for president? Thank you.
Okay. I'm back again.
Go ahead, sir.
Will you be loyal to political party or individual? The world is in need of messiahs, but I am a system person. So I believe in finding solutions to things from a systems approach. I love messiahs, but the problem is that there's a challenge in getting messiahs sometimes to do the work. So I would rather like a leader who comes from an ideological perspective, an ideological organizing philosophy, a political party, an organization, so that if that leader flies up in the air and does not come down, or if he develops catarrh and is not healed, our society is not thrown backwards due to lack of control. So my preference will be for a systemic approach to governance than an individual approach. Western democracy has not led to development in, as the last speaker said, a situational analysis. I totally share your thoughts. The problem of Western democracy. But you see, I don't like people describing it as Western democracy as if that is the problem. The problem for me is Africa's inability to practice any system. We don't have an ability. Our traditional society, the traditional chiefs, the obis, the obas, are they running a better system in Nigeria today? The emirs in the north, no. They want to remain feudal. They want to remain without any control. So in between them and democracy is two things. One is that Africa does not have an organizing principle. We always talk about democracy. Democracy is just one of the means to achieve an end. One of the key things today is for society to have an end, to have an organizing philosophy. And the third speaker, Antifi, talked about Kaizen, the Japanese continuous excellence. So what is the organizing principle of African societies? So where democracy works, it works where individuals have organizing principle, where societies have strategies and plans to measure, to monitor, to improve. So the inability to do that cannot be confused with the form of government, because we've tried parliamentary, we ended up in a civil war. We've tried presidential, 20-something years after we're frustrated. We can go now and form our own African philosophy and say, okay, we'll just be doing it turn by turn, we'll run into problem. So in my writings, I've written about what I call Mekaria, the culture of continuous excellence. Mekaria is an Igbo word that comes from do more, do better. I said Africa lacks an organizing principle. So if we have Mekaria as our governing ethic of always doing more, of always measuring what has been done and building upon it, and if we turn democracy around to say it will give us opportunity to have the people speak, but you will serve only one term. We have no business copying the American style full presidential system. We don't need two parliaments, the Senate and the House of Reps, because we know in Nigeria that the parliament will go with the president in power. So why don't we have one so that we can arrange parliament? Why don't we have openness in our recruitment appointment processes to reduce the power of politicians to build our public sector? So these are my thinking, that it is not the democracy we should fight. It is our own, what I call tweaking of democracy to achieve that which we hope to gain as a people. So we need an organizing foundational principle. We need to move away from the culture of alibi to the culture of agency. The map of the world today is a map of the world divided by alibi and agency. Cultures that embrace alibi, like the ANC in South Africa, always goes into regression. Cultures that embrace agency, taking responsibility, and solving the problems that they meet on the way, those also have grown. So, do I have any influence on federal road safety? My answer is no, I do not, and I don't want to, and I don't plan to, because I built a system and process in place. I got them ISO 9001 certified, so they need to be able to make sure they maintain the systems and process in place. But I must tell you that a lot has also changed. Funding is now episodic. The ability, the quality, the quantity of funding has declined dramatically, because when the government did their FX convergence, devalued the Naira, increased fuel prices, it did not reflect in the amount of money the Federal Road Safety gets. For them to do mobile patrols, they need fuel. That is an important part of their work. They need vehicles, from buying a pickup at 4 million when I was commercial to now needing 120 million. And the budget is still 2 billion. I left FRSC at 32 billion budget. Their total budget is still 30-something billion, which if you divide by today's Naira, is almost going to do nothing for them. So my message to Nigerians is that we can rethink our society. We can reimagine it. And that is why the thinkers are important, so that we can gradually make the changes that will lead us out of frustration. Now that we are complaining about the type of presidents we have, how democracy has done, then we can think about it. What do we need to do? Stop them from getting 2 terms. Then we can say again, why do we need to stop the president from appointing only people from his area? Set up, like the Chinese started in the early centuries, a standard way of taking exams for public institutions, so that people who get into public institutions are people who have passion for the job and are ready to do it. And then the last one for me is, let us allow evidence to lead our policy making. We can say that we saw 5 roads that are causing almost 40% of the deaths in Nigeria, and the budget does nothing to go and tackle the problem that we're seeing. We cannot see the states that we have in the front lines of banditry and banditry and terrorism, and we make a budget that is talking about barracks in Port Harcourt. Please, we should get serious about allowing evidence to drive our governance. And that, for me, is the summary of how government exists and work for the people. And my final comment is, we need an organizing principle. We need to bring the spirit of Niger to Nigeria. We need to make Nigeria to become a place that allows our capabilities and our abilities to unfold, and not a place that restricts it. We need to make Nigeria a home that Africans will look and say, the biggest Black nation in Africa is a leading example. The biggest Black nation in the world is the leading example of what the Black man can do. I am disappointed being a Black man, and we can't point to any successful Black country in the world. That destiny is waiting for Nigeria. If Nigeria does not take that shot, no other African country is qualified like us to do that. And if they do it before us, our descent to obsolescence and almost a failed state will be assured. That's the pathway to us leading to our failure. But if we unlock our energies, unlock the Niger in us, and allow it to drive the Nigerian nation, then what many thought was a geographical expression will become an expression of a geography that is designed to make Africa the story to tell the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I want to apologize to Mrs. Ifeanyiwa for the interruption when you were speaking. So Mr. President is going to come up now to close. I want to just thank you again for, this is a conversation that will probably go on and on, but thank you for your time here today. We meet here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Nigerian time, same Zoom link, but just a different speaker and a different topic. So over to you, sir. We've asked you to unmute. Okay.
Okay, me?
We're waiting for Pastor Itua to...
oh, Pastor Itua, yes.
Yes, he's in the meeting, but I think he may be having challenges with his audio. Just give us 1 second. Thank you. The School of Policy you were talking about is very interesting, and it's similar to some of the things we're doing here at Tri-Africa Empowerment Foundation. So we'll probably follow up with that conversation. There's so many key points that you brought up today that I think is important to dwell on. So over to you, sir. Mr. President, can you hear me? Yes.
All right. I want to thank my brother Osita. Thank him very, very much for everything that he has done today. The comments have been phenomenal. Everybody has made such good comments as to what we spoke about. And I'm glad that this is the way we started off the year. And I'm sure, Osita, that when we call, you will again oblige us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sonny. Thank you, Jumoke. Thank you, everyone, for coming and being there.
Well,
and thank you for all those great questions, those insights, and also those comments. God bless you all. God keep you. Have a very
Pastor,
happy and prosperous 2026, and let it be well with all of us. In Jesus'
Pastor,
name. See you same time next week. By God's grace.
If you call again through my wife, you will be assured I will be present. So even if I don't want to go, you just call my wife and that will work.
Duly noted. So we know who holds the power.
That's the power beast.
That's the powerhouse. Yes.
So she got me here. So you now know the roots.
Yes,
so,
and I'm sure she's here. We are
Osita,
thanking her.
have you decided on which political party you want to go with?
Not yet. When I decide, I will make it public.
Okay. So
okay, we are watching, but we see you leaning somehow, but we won't say anything.
Can you disconnect the YouTube because it's now the after party? Please go ahead and disconnect YouTube.